So this last weekend, I took a little bit of time and sat down. For some strange reason, found myself with nothing to do and was going through the cable TV channels or Netflix or Prime Video. I don't know what I was watching. Came upon an old movie. It's one of these old, like 1950 style movies where the acting was a little bit overdone. The production values were pretty low, and they relied very heavily in this mystery detective movie on music to try to tell the story, or at least to kind of heighten the story. Have you noticed that? It was sort of like many movies that we watch, where the music almost plays another character in the movie. The music tries to tell us, the audience, that there's something going on that we need to be nervous about, or we can relax now, right? And it's very predictable. In one scene, the damsel and the hero were walking through this old mansion, trying to get from one room to another, trying to find something dark and foreboding. And the music got more and more intense as they approached a door. Now, of course, they can't hear the music, but you and I in the audience can hear the music. And I wanted to say, I'm one of these guys that likes to talk back to TV shows. You don't want to watch movies or TV shows with me because I talk back all the time to them. Don't go in there, I wanted to shout. Can't you hear the music? Today, let's talk about 3 songs that you need to pay really close attention to. When you hear these tunes, so to speak, when you hear these mental models like songs in a mystery movie, don't go in there, especially when you and I are facing disappointment or setbacks or loss of any kind, whether it's a little bit or a lot, whether it's a small loss when we're mildly disappointed or a really significant and profound loss. Watch out for these 3 tunes that we will actually want to hum in our own mind. We'll actually want to sing these tunes, so to speak. But if we start to do that, we'll want to back out. Don't go in there. There's a trap. Look out. This is a dangerous thing to experience for us. So here we go. What are the 3 tunes? Now remember, you and I are going to walk our way through life, and we're going to be experiencing everything around us through what we like to call mental models. And our mental models are constructs we build in our head about what is true. And we usually don't examine those mental models very much. We just have them. And once we build a mental model about a person or an idea or a product or about a political party or about something going on in science or in the news or about ourselves or about our family, once we build these mental models, they function like assumptions. We assume that this model we have in our head of our coworker or of our boss or of money or whatever is true. And therefore our brain will just kind of relax and then look through those mental models we have developed, much like I look through the lenses of these glasses. Now, these lenses correct my vision, but mental models may or may not do that. As you recall from some of our earlier videos, a mental model is like a lens through which we look at the world. And our brain likes mental models because they simplify for us what's going on around us. Doesn't mean they're actual or true. There are mental models that you and I have whenever we experience disappointment or setbacks or loss. And our mental models need to be carefully examined because in the presence of those kind of disappointments, we can often find ourselves in a trap. These 3 traps, or like songs that we start to sing, or mental models that we have, are to be avoided because they will make the trap much worse than it actually is. Here they are. Imagine, or recall, in your case, a significant setback that you have had, or a minor one. Did you hear this tune start to play? Did you pull out these lenses and start looking through them? This first one we call personalization. Now, with thanks to Martin Seligman, who identified these 3 mental models and described them, personalization is the tune where I start singing in my head, "It's all my fault. It's all my fault." And there's versions of this. If only I could have, or if only I wouldn't have. And we find something that we did or didn't do, or did but didn't do perfectly, and we accept the blame for the loss based upon purely what we were in control of, or at least what we thought we should have been in control of. And then the more we sing that tune, the more we go deeply into that mental model that it's all my fault. Now, the other side of that, of course, is the realization that I should be able to control everything in my life, or at least I think I should. When I realize that that's what that personalization mental model, that song I'm singing to myself is all about, we can find that it's a bottomless pit. So there's the first tune. Listen carefully for that when you experience the setbacks that you and I experience in life or at work, or the disappointments that we experience, and the discomfort and pain that they bring. Be careful of that first tune called Personalization. Oh, it's all my fault. If only I had been perfect, then this would not have happened, all right? The second tune that we start to sing, that is actually like a trap, it's like a siren song that pulls us in, is called Pervasiveness. It's a very common trap when we experience disappointment of some sort, especially when it's quite painful for us. Here it is. This trap, this song that we sing, says that this is bad and this is difficult, and so is that, and so is that, and so is that, and eventually, by that I mean in minutes, we've started to believe that everything in our life or everything in our job is awful. And we feel like that if it's really bad, it's all connected. And if something over here is not bad, disappointing, sad, hurtful to us, just wait for it. It will be that way eventually. That's called pervasiveness. That the loss, the disappointment, is affecting every area of my life. That's the second tune we sing to ourselves. That's the second faulty mental model that we sing that's a trap. The third one is permanence. And you can guess what that is. It means that whatever I'm feeling right now or experiencing right now as a result of this significant loss, I'm going to feel and experience just like this forever. You can hear Eeyore's voice in there, can't you? Forever. You can hear that. That's permanence. That the weight of this and my ability to bear up under the weight of that is going to be exactly like this forever. When these three tunes come together, they form a melody and a counter melody that is very, very destructive to us. They are traps because they are, in a way, they can cause us to consume every bit of energy, every bit of time, and all of our thought, and they can cause us to actually give up. So you hear those three tunes. You've probably heard them yourself. You may have even heard them when someone else started humming those tunes. It's all my fault, and it's a dismal tune. Oh, it's everywhere. Everything is bad. Nothing is good anymore. We're all falling apart. It's all going to fall apart. That kind of tune. And the third tune, we're all going to die. That Eeyore voice, that permanence, that it's going to be this way, this hard, this difficult forever. Those are the three tunes. Well, now that you recognize them, and maybe you have actually been singing those tunes to yourself a lot for a long time, or you have someone with whom you work or someone with whom you live that sings those tunes whenever they get hit with a setback or a painful disappointment, well, what do you do? What do you do when you recognize them, or maybe you've been singing them for a while? Well, let's take each three of them and show you a simple way to get out of them. First of all, you've got to recognize them. That's why I'm sharing this with you. Recognize that they're traps. Recognize that those songs are traps, that those mental models are going to pull you in, and they're hard to get out of if you've been in them for a long, long time. So recognize, oh, it's a trap, it's a trap, it's a trap. And traps are set up to look appealing, but then they grab you, and then they don't let go. Like all traps, these are traps. How do you get out of the personalization trap? Accept what your part was in it, but also identify that some of this was out of your control. In fact, a lot of this was out of your control. Accept your part in it. Freely admit that I did this or didn't do that, or I did this but did it imperfectly. Freely admit it to yourself. At the same time, realize that if you had done it perfectly or hadn't done it at all, if it was required that way, that it's possible it still would have happened. That really what the setback was largely or even partly out of your control. So the personalization doesn't mean we deny or ignore the fact that we may have had a role in it, but don't live in that land forever. I had a small part in it, I did make decisions, and I'm responsible for three things: whom I trust, what's my perspective, and what's my behavior. And look at those three things and then look forward and say, okay, I need to change one of those a little bit so that when I face another setback or another disappointment like this, it won't swamp me. All right, that's personalization. Go ahead, own up to what was actually your part, but don't fall into that sticky tar pit of everything was your fault, because it wasn't. Because it wasn't. And if you want to get real honest about it, maybe if you had performed perfectly, it wouldn't have made any difference. Now that's kind of a hard thing to see, especially in light of really difficult and painful setbacks that you may experience. How do you get out of that second trap? That pervasiveness one. That's the one where if this is bad, then that's bad, and that's bad, and that's bad, and everything is bad, and everything is bad. This is simpler in context to get out of. Look at what truly is good. Look at what is wonderful in your life. Even though that is a painful and difficult setback, look over there, that's not. And look at it and enjoy it. And that's not, and that's not. Look at the things that are happening in your life that are really not painful, not setbacks, and not difficult. Identify those carefully. If you want an advanced, high-level skill, a 400-level course in this, then dive in and take one more step. Look at that disappointment and identify how it could have been worse. Actually think about that. That disappointment, that setback, that difficulty could have been worse if. Do that in tandem with being grateful for what is really, really good in your life. The third one, as you remember, is permanence. It's going to last forever. And really zoom in, the way to get out of this is, the song is saying that the pain, the difficulty, the depression, the frustration, the irritation, the anger you're all feeling right now, carrying this weight from this setback or disappointment, is going to be just like this forever. That's permanence. Understand that you have experienced setbacks before. And you've been wounded before, you've been hurt before, you've developed a scar before. Understand that is what's actually going on. And the reality of it is, you can sing a different song. I've experienced difficult things before. And even though it may have left a mark, it may have wounded in some way, look, I'm standing today. I'm still joyful today. I'm still able to be creative and to have friendships and to love people and to make good decisions today. Even though I may be carrying the memory or the weight of that disappointment, even though it may have set me off in a different direction in my career or in relationships, I'm actually okay today. Look at the other side of the permanence. Yes, you're probably going to remember this for a long time. But as with everything, as we move away from a difficult, painful situation, we actually are able to see a larger picture around it. The context of our memory begins to change, and although it may take a month or a year or 12 years for you to actually begin to relax your grip on the pain of that, you will. And even though the 50-pound weight you're carrying in your backpack called disappointment will not somehow get lighter, you will get stronger. There you go. Those are the three tunes you want to be really careful to avoid whenever you experience setback, difficulty, disappointment, pain, loss. You may be an expert at this already. What can you then do with this? You can actually refresh this and turn to another person who is going through pain and difficulty. Listen carefully to them as they talk. Listen for the three tunes that they may be singing and help them understand. Careful, careful, careful. Don't go in there. Don't go in there. Those three tunes that you're starting to sing are actually going to end up making a whole lot worse for you. There you go. There's a small change that you can make that makes a big difference right away. Hey, here's to you. Have a great afternoon.